Today, the judge in the case held Trump in contempt of court for violating a gag order. Judge Juan Merchan says Trump violated the order not one, but 9 times and fined him, $1,000 each, total of $9,000. CBS News correspondent Errol Barnett is following this for us outside the courthouse in Manhattan. Errol, you've been there day in and day out. Talk to us about this decision today. This is new news this morning, and the warning to Trump that it's not just about paying fines. He could end up in jail for this.
That's exactly right, Lilia. Judge Juan Merchan now instituting some level of punishment to former President Donald Trump for what he says is a clear violation of 9 instances of the judge's gag order. And as a result, the former president, will pay $1,000 per violation. And he has apparently until 2:15 Eastern to remove the corresponding Truth Social posts and remarks from his campaign 2024 website.
Okay, so we need to talk about what's happening with Trump's legal situation right now, because this is absolutely insane. And this is the moment where Trump's past is literally catching up with him and destroying his present at the exact same time. Trump is facing over $500 million in civil fraud penalties from New York, and that's just the base amount without interest and without additional damages. Trump is also facing $88 million or more that Trump owes to E. Jean Carroll for defamation and sexual abuse liability. Trump is facing a hush money case sentencing coming up on January 10th, 2026, where Trump is going to be sentenced for his felony convictions. Trump is facing a defamation suit from the Central Park Five, who are suing Trump for lies Trump told about them during a debate just a few months ago. And on top of all of these personal legal problems, Trump's administration is facing over 530 lawsuits challenging Trump's executive actions and challenging whether Trump has the power to do the things Trump is trying to do. Come on, are you kidding me? Trump is literally being buried under an avalanche of legal problems that are coming at him from every direction simultaneously. Trump's past crimes and Trump's past misconduct are resurfacing right now and are threatening to destroy Trump financially and are threatening to destroy Trump politically. This is absolutely wild, because Trump is supposed to be president and Trump is supposed to be leading the country, but instead Trump is spending all of Trump's time dealing with legal problems and legal threats that could result in Trump losing hundreds of millions of dollars and could potentially result in Trump going to prison. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest, you can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
And there's also one other aspect of the judge's order. Judge Juan Merchan also writes that the defendant is hereby warned by the court it will not tolerate continued willful violations of its lawful orders, and that if necessary and appropriate under the circumstances, it will impose an incarceratory punishment. So that is the threat of jail time to Trump if he continues to violate the gag orders. Now, for those keeping track at home, we have 9 violations of what the prosecution said were 10 violations, but last week they brought forth another 4. The judge is expected to hold a hearing on that.
Here's what's making this situation absolutely catastrophic for Trump, and what's making this the worst possible timing for these legal problems to be surfacing. Trump's presidency is already in complete collapse from all the other crises we've been talking about. Trump has lost court cases on executive power. Trump has been impeached multiple times. Trump's approval ratings are declining. Trump's House Republicans are threatening mass resignations. Trump's cabinet is in chaos. Trump's health is declining. Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows, just flipped and is cooperating with prosecutors. Trump just fled Washington in the middle of a spending bill crisis. And now on top of all of this, Trump's past legal problems are all surfacing at once and are threatening to bury Trump financially and legally. Trump is under assault from every direction simultaneously. Trump's presidency is imploding. Trump's party is fracturing. Trump's legal position is deteriorating. This is the kind of moment where everything crashes down at once and everything collapses simultaneously. Trump is basically in a free fall right now, and his legal problems are just adding more weight and more pressure that's pushing Trump down and making the fall worse and more devastating. What's absolutely crazy about the New York civil fraud penalties is that Trump is facing $500 million plus interest, which means the amount Trump owes is probably going to be even higher than $500 million by the time everything is settled and paid. This is an absolutely massive amount of money that could potentially bankrupt Trump if Trump actually has to pay it. Trump has been claiming that Trump is incredibly wealthy and incredibly rich. But if Trump has to pay $500 million or more in civil fraud penalties, that could seriously damage Trump's financial position and Trump's ability to maintain his businesses and maintain his lifestyle. Trump would have to sell properties. Trump would have to liquidate assets. Trump would have to potentially declare bankruptcy if the penalties get high enough. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's brand and absolutely devastating to Trump's image as a successful businessman. Trump's entire political brand is built on the idea that Trump is a brilliant businessman and an incredibly successful entrepreneur. But if Trump has to pay massive civil fraud penalties and potentially declare bankruptcy because of those penalties, then Trump's entire brand collapses and Trump loses credibility with his supporters who believe in Trump as a successful businessman. What's also making the situation absolutely wild is that the E. Jean Carroll defamation and sexual abuse liability is a completely separate legal problem that's adding $88 million or more on top of the $500 million from the New York civil fraud case. So Trump is facing potentially almost $600 million in civil liability between the New York fraud case and the E. Jean Carroll case. This is absolutely staggering and absolutely mind-boggling in terms of the amount of money Trump is potentially going to have to pay out. And this is not even including the hush money criminal case or the Central Park 5 defamation suit. Trump is facing multiple legal problems that are each costing Trump tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. This is absolutely going to destroy Trump financially if Trump actually has to pay all of this money. The hush money case sentencing is also significant because even though Trump might get an unconditional discharge that avoids prison time, Trump is still going to have a felony conviction on Trump's record. Trump is going to be a convicted felon, which is absolutely devastating to Trump's political brand and Trump's ability to maintain the support of his base. Trump has been running for president as this strong, tough guy who is above the law, but now Trump is actually going to be a convicted felon. This is absolutely humiliating for Trump and absolutely devastating to Trump's credibility and Trump's ability to convince his supporters that Trump is innocent. Trump is going to be a president with a felony conviction, which is absolutely unprecedented in American history and absolutely shocking to most Americans. All right, so let's dig into the details of all these legal problems that Trump is facing and understand what each one of these cases actually means for Trump's legal future and Trump's financial future. The New York civil fraud case is one of the most significant because it's based on Trump's business practices and Trump's financial statements. The case concluded that Trump committed fraud by inflating the value of his assets and his net worth on financial statements that Trump submitted to banks and to insurance companies. The court found that Trump deliberately lied about how much Trump's properties were worth in order to get better loan terms and better insurance rates. This is a serious form of fraud because Trump was lying to financial institutions in order to get money or better terms from those institutions. The civil fraud penalty of $500 million is supposed to compensate for the fraud that Trump committed and to punish Trump for the fraudulent conduct. And this penalty is just the beginning because appeals courts are still reviewing the case, and the final amount that Trump has to pay could potentially be even higher than $500 million. This is an absolutely massive financial liability that could seriously damage Trump's ability to maintain his businesses and maintain his properties and maintain his lifestyle. What's really significant about the New York fraud case is that it shows that Trump has a pattern of lying and defrauding financial institutions. Trump has a history of inflating asset values and inflating net worth in order to get better business deals. This pattern of fraudulent conduct is what the New York case is based on, and this pattern shows that Trump is not the brilliant, honest businessman that Trump claims to be. Instead, Trump is a fraudster who lies to financial institutions to get better deals for himself. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's credibility and absolutely devastating to Trump's brand as a successful businessman. Trump supporters believe in Trump as a successful entrepreneur, but the New York fraud case shows that Trump's success is partially based on fraud and deception. This is absolutely shocking to Trump's supporters and absolutely damaging to Trump's political brand. The E. Jean Carroll case is also significant because it's based on Trump's alleged sexual assault and rape of E. Jean Carroll, and then Trump's defamation of Carroll by calling her a liar. The court found that Trump was liable for sexual abuse and for defamation, and ordered Trump to pay $88 million to Carroll for the harm that Trump caused her. This is an absolutely massive amount of money, and it's an absolutely devastating verdict for Trump because it shows that a jury found Trump responsible for sexual assault and for defamation. Trump has always denied the allegations against Carroll and has always claimed that the allegations are false and politically motivated. But the court found that the allegations are credible and that Trump is responsible for sexual assault and defamation. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's credibility and absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to convince his supporters that Trump is innocent of sexual misconduct. Trump is now a convicted sex offender who has been found liable for sexual abuse and defamation in civil court. The hush money criminal case is significant because it resulted in Trump being convicted on multiple counts of falsifying business records and conspiracy. The conviction is supposed to be sentenced on January 10th, 2026, and at that point, Trump is going to receive a sentence from the judge. The prosecutors have asked for an unconditional discharge, which means Trump would not go to prison and would not have to pay additional fines beyond what has already been ordered. But even if Trump receives an unconditional discharge and avoids prison time, Trump is still going to be a convicted felon. Trump is going to have a felony conviction on Trump's criminal record. This felony conviction is going to follow Trump for the rest of Trump's life and is going to affect Trump's ability to exercise rights that felons lose when they are convicted of felonies. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's political brand and absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to maintain the support of his base. What's really significant about the hush money conviction is that it shows that Trump was willing to break the law to cover up an affair. Trump allegedly paid hush money to an adult film actress to silence her before the 2016 election. Trump used his businesses and his business records to facilitate and conceal the hush money payment. Trump falsified business records to hide the payment. This is criminal conduct, and Trump was convicted of this criminal conduct. The conviction shows that Trump is willing to break the law to cover up scandals and to conceal embarrassing information about himself. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's credibility and absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to convince his supporters that Trump is above the law or that Trump is innocent. The Central Park 5 case is also significant because it shows that Trump is still engaging in defamatory conduct even while Trump is president. Trump recently claimed during a debate that the Central Park 5 confessed to their crime and that the victim died. These claims are false. The Central Park 5 were exonerated and their convictions were vacated after they spent years in prison for a crime they did not commit. The victim in the case did not die from the injuries she suffered, and Trump's claims about the Central Park 5 are defamatory and are absolutely false. The Central Park 5 filed a defamation suit against Trump for these false claims. This shows that Trump is still making false and defamatory statements even while serving as president. This is absolutely unbelievable and absolutely shows that Trump has no respect for the truth and no respect for the people that Trump defames with Trump's false statements. What's really important to understand is that the 530 lawsuits that Trump's administration is facing are challenging Trump's executive actions and challenging whether Trump has the power to do the things Trump is trying to do. These lawsuits are coming from states, from organizations, from individuals who believe that Trump's executive actions violate the law or violate the Constitution. These lawsuits are separate from Trump's personal legal problems, but they are adding to the overall legal burden that Trump is facing. Trump's administration is being sued constantly by people who believe Trump is exceeding the limits of presidential power. This is in addition to all the personal legal problems that Trump is facing related to the New York fraud case, the E. Jean Carroll case, the hush money case, and the Central Park 5 case. So Trump is facing legal assault from every direction simultaneously. Trump is facing personal legal problems. Trump is facing legal challenges to Trump's executive actions. Trump is facing investigations from Congress. Trump is facing criminal investigation from federal prosecutors. This is an absolutely unprecedented level of legal pressure that no president has ever faced. What's also significant is that the appeals courts are still reviewing many of these cases and are making decisions that affect Trump's legal liability. The appeals court recently revived Trump's immunity defense post-SCOTUS ruling, which means Trump might have an additional legal argument to use in defending Trump against some of the charges. But the appeals courts are also upholding many of the verdicts against Trump and are rejecting many of Trump's legal arguments. So while Trump is getting some favorable rulings, Trump is also getting many unfavorable rulings. The overall trend of the appeals courts is that Trump's legal position is getting worse, not better. Trump is facing increasing legal liability as appeals courts review the cases and make decisions about whether to uphold or overturn the verdicts against Trump. What's absolutely crazy about the timing of all these legal problems surfacing right now is that Trump is in the middle of trying to govern as president. Trump is supposed to be dealing with the crises that are facing the country. Trump is supposed to be working with Congress to move his legislative agenda forward. Trump is supposed to be dealing with foreign policy crises like the situation with Ukraine. But instead, Trump is spending all of Trump's time dealing with legal problems and legal threats that could result in Trump losing hundreds of millions of dollars and could result in Trump being imprisoned. Trump cannot effectively govern when Trump is facing this level of legal pressure. Trump's attention is divided. Trump's focus is divided. Trump's ability to exercise presidential power is compromised by the fact that Trump is dealing with constant legal crises and legal threats. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to be an effective president. Okay, so let's break down what Trump's mounting legal problems actually mean for Trump's presidency and for Trump's ability to survive politically and legally. The first key point is that Trump is facing an absolutely staggering amount of financial liability that could potentially bankrupt Trump or seriously damage Trump's financial position. Trump is facing $500 million in New York civil fraud penalties, $88 million in E. Jean Carroll liability, and potentially additional liability from the Central Park 5 case and from other litigation. All of this money added up could result in Trump owing over $600 million or even significantly more. This is an absolutely massive amount of money that could destroy Trump's business empire and could force Trump to sell properties and liquidate assets just to pay off the legal judgments against Trump. This financial destruction is absolutely devastating to Trump's brand as a successful businessman and is absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to maintain his political power and political influence. What's really significant about Trump's financial liability is that it could create a situation where Trump runs out of money to pay for Trump's legal defense. Trump has been spending millions of dollars paying lawyers to defend Trump in all of these different cases. Trump has been using Trump's business resources and Trump's personal wealth to pay for Trump's legal defense. But if Trump has to start paying out hundreds of millions of dollars in judgments and settlements, then Trump is not going to have as much money available to pay for Trump's legal defense in the remaining cases that are still pending. This could create a situation where Trump runs out of money and can no longer afford to hire the best lawyers to defend Trump. This could seriously damage Trump's ability to defend Trump in the cases that are still pending and that are still being litigated. Now let's talk about what Trump's felony conviction in the hush money case means for Trump's political future and for Trump's ability to maintain the support of his base. Trump is going to be a convicted felon, which is absolutely unprecedented for a sitting president. Trump is going to have a criminal conviction on Trump's record that will follow Trump for the rest of Trump's life. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's political brand and absolutely devastating to Trump's ability to convince his supporters that Trump is innocent or that Trump is being persecuted by the courts. Trump's supporters have always believed that Trump is the victim of a rigged justice system that is trying to destroy Trump unfairly. But now that Trump has been convicted on criminal charges, it's harder to argue that Trump is being unfairly persecuted. Trump's supporters are going to have to confront the reality that Trump has actually been convicted of crimes and that the courts have found Trump guilty. This is absolutely devastating to Trump's political position and absolutely damaging to Trump's credibility with his base. What's also really significant is that Trump's criminal conviction and Trump's massive financial liabilities could trigger a collapse of Trump's support among his base in key states like Florida. Trump's approval ratings are already declining in Florida, and now that Trump is being hit with massive financial judgments and a criminal conviction, Trump's approval is probably going to decline even further. Trump supporters in Florida are probably going to start questioning whether Trump is actually a successful businessman or whether Trump is a fraudster and a criminal who lied about Trump's wealth and committed crimes to cover up personal scandals. This erosion of support in Florida is absolutely devastating to Trump because Florida is Trump's home state and Trump's political stronghold. If Trump loses support in Florida, then Trump has lost Trump's most reliable base of supporters. Let's talk about what the 530 lawsuits challenging Trump's executive actions mean for Trump's ability to push his legislative agenda and Trump's ability to exercise presidential power. These lawsuits are challenging whether Trump has the power to do the things Trump is trying to do. These lawsuits are challenging whether Trump's executive actions violate the law or violate the Constitution. Many of these lawsuits are probably going to result in courts blocking Trump's executive actions and preventing Trump from implementing Trump's policies. If courts keep blocking Trump's executive actions, then Trump is not going to be able to push Trump's agenda forward through executive power. Trump is going to have to depend on Congress to pass legislation to implement Trump's agenda. but we've already seen that Congress is fractured and Congress is not willing to do whatever Trump demands. So if Trump cannot govern through executive power and Trump cannot govern through Congress, then Trump basically cannot govern at all. Trump is going to be completely blocked and unable to move Trump's agenda forward. What's really important to understand is that all of these legal problems are happening at exactly the moment when Trump's presidency is already collapsing from multiple other crises. Trump is dealing with court defeats on executive power issues. Trump is dealing with impeachments. Trump is dealing with declining approval ratings. Trump is dealing with House Republican revolts. Trump is dealing with Mark Meadows cooperating with prosecutors. Trump is dealing with foreign policy disasters. Trump is dealing with health concerns. Trump is dealing with cabinet corruption. Trump is dealing with cybersecurity breaches. And now Trump is also dealing with massive financial liabilities and criminal convictions. All of these crises are piling up at the same time and are overwhelming Trump's ability to function as president. Trump is completely buried under an avalanche of crises and problems that are coming at Trump from every direction simultaneously. Here's what comes next and what you should expect to see happen as Trump's legal problems continue to develop and continue to destroy Trump's presidency and Trump's finances. First, Trump's hush money sentencing is going to happen on January 10th, 2026. At that point, Trump is going to be formally sentenced as a convicted felon, and that sentence is going to be announced publicly and is going to be covered extensively by the media. This is going to be absolutely devastating to Trump's political brand and is going to reinforce the message that Trump is a convicted criminal. Second, the appeals courts are probably going to continue issuing decisions on Trump's various cases, and those decisions are probably going to result in Trump losing most of the appeals and having to pay out massive amounts of money in judgments and settlements. Third, the Central Park 5 defamation case is probably going to result in another judgment against Trump, which is going to add additional financial liability on top of everything else that Trump already owes. Fourth, the 530 lawsuits challenging Trump's executive actions are probably going to result in many of Trump's executive actions being blocked or struck down by the courts. This is going to severely limit Trump's ability to govern through executive action and is going to force Trump to depend on Congress to pass legislation. Fifth, if Democrats gain control of the House in the 2026 midterms, then Democrats are probably going to open investigations into Trump's administration and are probably going to launch impeachment proceedings against Trump. These congressional investigations and impeachment proceedings are going to add to the legal pressure on Trump and are going to tie up Trump's administration and Trump's legal team with dealing with congressional investigations instead of dealing with Trump's actual job as president. Sixth, Trump's supporters are probably going to start to abandon Trump as it becomes clear that Trump is a convicted felon and that Trump is facing hundreds of millions of dollars in financial liability. Trump supporters have always believed in Trump as a successful businessman and as someone who is above the law. But now that Trump is a convicted criminal and now that Trump is facing massive financial judgments, Trump supporters are probably going to start to question whether Trump is actually guilty of the crimes that Trump was convicted of and whether Trump is actually a fraudster rather than a successful businessman. This erosion of support among Trump's base is going to severely damage Trump's political power and Trump's ability to exercise influence over his party. What's the bottom line here that you need to understand about Trump's mounting legal problems and what they mean for Trump's presidency and Trump's future? Trump is facing $500 million in New York fraud penalties, $88 million in E. Jean Carroll liability, criminal conviction in the hush money case, a defamation suit from the Central Park 5, 530 lawsuits challenging Trump's executive actions, and ongoing investigations from federal prosecutors. All of these legal problems combined are absolutely devastating to Trump's financial position, Trump's political position, and Trump's legal position. Trump is facing potential bankruptcy. Trump is facing potential imprisonment. Trump is facing massive financial liabilities that could destroy Trump's business empire. Trump is a convicted felon and is facing additional criminal investigations that could result in additional criminal convictions. Trump's presidency is being paralyzed by all of these legal problems, and Trump is unable to effectively govern because Trump is spending all of Trump's time dealing with legal crises. Trump's legal problems are absolutely catastrophic and are absolutely unprecedented for a sitting president. No previous president has ever faced this level of legal liability and this level of legal exposure. Trump is basically the most legally besieged president in American history. Trump is facing legal threats from every direction. from civil courts, from criminal courts, from federal courts, from state courts, from Congress, from federal prosecutors. This is an absolutely unprecedented situation where a sitting president is being attacked legally from multiple directions simultaneously and is facing an absolutely staggering amount of potential liability. The timing of all these legal problems surfacing right now is absolutely devastating to Trump because Trump is already severely weakened by multiple other crises. Trump's presidency is already collapsing. Trump's party is already fracturing. Trump's support is already declining. And now Trump is being buried under an avalanche of legal problems that are going to further damage Trump's presidency and further destroy Trump's ability to exercise power. This is the moment where everything crashes down at once and where Trump's entire presidency collapses completely. Trump is probably not going to survive this level of legal and political pressure. Trump's presidency is probably going to end either through Trump being removed from office by Congress or through Trump voluntarily stepping down because Trump cannot handle the pressure and the stress anymore. This is the end of Trump's presidency, and it's coming much faster than anyone expected.